Thank you. Thank you for joining this session. The webinar is going to commence in some minutes. So we just want to uh, give room for others to join. So in the next, by 11:10, we're going to commence the webinar. Thank you for joining us, man. It promises to be a very insightful webinar because this is based on popular demand, and we've been getting requests from our vendors and also our partners on this solution, the ManageEngine IAM solution. So this solution, just for me to give you an overview of this solution, the ManageEngine IAM solution speaks to the PAM 360 and AD 360. So it helps you to do some more like a protection in your organization from privilege identity theft, because there are different identity thefts within an environment. So with this solution, you should be able to get protection on your server, your application within, and also get some controls on whatever thing that is being done in your environment. So we are actually in line with the requests that have been coming in from our vendors, and we want to sensitize our partners on this trend and also the trend of requesting for PAM 360 and AD 360. So with this solution, we should be able to do all kinds of security configuration within your environment and also protect some assets, right? And also you can also monitor or manage some privileged assets within your organization. You don't want to take much of your time. I have my colleague here, Anwika, is our technical engineer that speaks to this specific solution. She will be taking us to um, the um, the functionalities of the IAM solution, precisely the PAM 360 and AD 360. Should you have any question, kindly hold till the end of the um, presentation. Then you can also use the chatbot to type in your questions. Once that is done, we'll be able to answer all your questions. Also, feel free to reach out to me directly on my either my phone, my on my mail or my WhatsApp. Should you have any kind of clarification, at this point, I will leave this session for Anrika to proceed. Anrika, kindly share your screen and let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry, for that quick introduction. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Anurika Umanazie, and I'll be taking you through ManageEngine IAM Solutions. Hope I'm audible enough. Can you all hear me? If yes, can you indicate that on the chat? Okay. So today we'll be looking at ManageEngine IAM Solutions. So IAM means Identity and Access Management Solutions, which helps you to ensure that identity governance and administration are put in place in your organization. It also helps you to monitor all the behavioral analytics in your environment, whether your Active Directory environment or your account environment. So those are the things we are going to look at
To
today. I'll be doing some presentations and also a demonstrations on the applications that speaks to IAM. So ManageEngine offers a suite of identity and access management solutions that help organization manage user identities, enforce security policies, streamline access provisioning, and also make sure that compliance is ensured. So these IAM solutions are divided into two. So we have the ManageEngine PAM 360 and we have the ManageEngine AD 360. So what PAM 360 speaks to is, what PAM 360 means is that it's a privileged asset management solution, which helps you to to monitor all the accounts, all the resources in your environment, ensure that it's only privileged users that have access to all the privileged resources that you have in your environment. So this ManageEngine IAM solution speaks to different categories, both the PAM 360 and the AD 360. So it speaks to identity governance and administration, whereby you automate user provisioning and deprovisioning, all those AD management activities that can be done on your native AD. You can use these IAM solutions provided by ManageEngine to execute all those tasks. You can also, it speaks to privileged account and session management, whereby you discover, onboard, store, and manage privileged users, accounts, and resources all from a central console. You can launch or remove sessions, moderate and audit privileged access and record sessions in real time. So these are what the ManageEngine IAM solutions can help you to achieve. So it also helps in privilege elevation and delegation management, whereby you can assign just on or multiple accounts or perform some AD administrative tasks by themselves. So this is the summary of what the IAM solution is all about. So on the screen we have the slide for ManageEngine PAM 360, which is one of the IAM tool, which helps in privileged accounts management. So I believe we all know what Tranter IT does, like Henry have already explained. So I wouldn't do much justice into this particular slide. So Tranter IT is the sole distributor of ManageEngine in Nigeria, and we have 18 years plus experience or expertise in IT management solutions. We have about 180,000 customers, 2,500 plus employees, and 90 plus products and free tools for IT management. And we have presence in over 190 countries, countries making use of ManageEngine products. So PAM 360, which is the privileged account management, is a web-based solution that regulates access to sensitive enterprise data through powerful privileged access governance, workflow automation, advanced analytics, and contextual integrations with various IT services. So what this actually means is that with PAM 360, you can be able to manage all the resources, like I've said earlier, all the resources in your environment. So resources in this case means anything that have username and password, whether it is connected to your domain, whether it is connected to your network, or whether it is outside your network. So far it has username and password, you can be able to manage those resources. That's what PAM 360 is all about. So any resources can be managed. All you just need to do is just to onboard those resources to the application, and the application automatically discover all the passwords, all the accounts that is present in that particular resource. From there, it can be able to carry out the different features that PAM 360 has to offer in that particular resource. So these are the feature of PAM 360. You can share account password management. You can share an account with a user, with the privileged user. You can perform session recording and monitoring. You can perform just-in-time management. It can help you with password management. It can also help you to identify different user behavior analytics. And it can also help you to control privilege elevation and delegation management. So, looking deep into the features of PAM 360, we have the privileged account governance, whereby you can be able to onboard the users, the privileged users into the application, and also manage your resources and create local accounts for those resources that you manage, and you'll be able to monitor and audit the kind of activities going on in that particular account. So it can also help in privileged access management. That is knowing who has access to this particular resource, what are they doing in that particular resource, what kind of rights that that person have for that particular resource. So with this application, you can be able to perform privileged access management, privileged session management, in case if you want to perform a remote control into one of those resources that you are managing. It's one of those resources you are managing. So you can initiate a screen record in the case of non-repudiation, whereby maybe a user that have access to a particular resource will deny that he or she didn't perform any particular activities there. With the feature of the auditing that is available and the session recording that is available, automatic session recording, you can be able to view all the activities that the user is carrying out in those particular resource. So with this application also, it helps in privileged user behavior analytics. So it will be able to identify all the anomalies, all the unusual activities happening in your account. Maybe a user that doesn't really have or that haven't logged on to a particular resource for a very long time, just logged on to that resource, is going to alert the administrator about that particular event. So with PAM 360 also, it helps in SSL and SSH key management. So SSL certificates, we all know that the process of getting SSL certificate is quite tedious. You have to generate a CSR, that's certificate sign request, take it to your CA, certificate authority, to sign it. You can use GoDaddy, all those certificate authorities to sign your certificate before you can then apply that certificate in any resources that you want to apply it to, whether your web server or a URL or your servers. So those are the process. But with PAM 360, all those processes are simplified because you can generate your CSR in that application. You can sign that CSR there using the inbuilt PAM 360 CA, and it also integrates with other vendors like the GoDaddy and the rest. So you can generate CSR, sign it, and apply it directly to the particular server you want that SSL to be applied. So it also helps in SSH key management, in the likes of Linux management, because with this application, you can manage Linux, you can manage Windows. So if you want to generate a new SSH key for your Linux environment, you can use this application to achieve that. So in terms of smart workflow automation, PAM 360 helps to achieve all these things. So the scenario I'm going to use for this smart workflow automation is maybe take for example that you have a vendor in your environment, and that vendor needs to actually work in your, maybe in your Active Directory or in a production environment for a specified period of time. So all you just need to do is that for the vendor to have access to that particular server, he needs to raise a request that he needs access to this particular server. And once that request is being raised, an admin which has been assigned to approve such request we approve that request, and the vendor would have access to that environment for a specified period of time. So once that time has elapsed, it will automatically yank the vendor off from the environment, and the vendor won't be able to log on to that environment with the credentials that he has been provided with earlier. So it will yank the vendor off and regenerate a new password for that particular account. So anytime the vendor wants to log on to that production environment, he would initiate another request before he would have access to that particular environment. So all these are the features of PAM 360, ranging from privileged account governance, privileged access management, privileged session management, user behavior analytics, SSL, SSH management, and smart workflow automation. So these are just how the hold on. How all the features that I just talked about, how it works. So we have the password management, we have the privileged account discovery that is being done automatically once you onboard your resources. We have the SSH key management, we have the SSL certificate management, access control, session management, and the likes. And you can also integrate, we are still coming to that, you can integrate third-party applications with this Palm 360, third-party applications like ticketing system integration, a SIM tool, security information and event management solution. You can integrate all those solutions with Palm 360 to help simplify all the process and helps you to achieve seamless access to enterprise resource. Please, if you have any questions, you can be dropping it on the chat. So at the end of this presentation, I would
Okay,
attend to it.
okay, just some minutes. Just to let you know, um, if you cannot access the chat bot, you can use the Q&A session to ask question, right? You can use the Q&A section, Q&A session to ask a question. Just type in your question. We'll be glad to answer your question. And Amaka, please proceed.
Okay. So basically what I talked about are the features of PAM 360. So it helps, here we are going to just simplify them in terms of account governance. This application helps have the ability to discover all privileged accounts across the entire IT infrastructure, whether it's Windows operating system or Linux machines or network devices, databases, cloud applications, even your AWS. So it can detect all the accounts present in those IT infrastructure, and from there you can be able to manage those accounts and password. This application has the ability to reset or rotate all the password of the account discovered over a periodic time. So, and it follows the PCI DSS compliance, ISO and NERC. So this application follows this compliance, and it helps the organization ensure that they meet all the required compliance standards. So you can also share account or password account credentials to other users. So if you don't want to give any privileged users a full right to a particular resource, you can actually share those credentials to a particular user, and it's only that particular user that would have the access to see that password and also access to that particular resource. So resource in this case can be your network device, it can be your Windows operating system, it can be your Linux, it can be your cloud platforms, so far that it has a username and password. It can even be your URL if you want users to have access to a particular URL, maybe a custom URL and the likes. You can also all add those resources to this application and manage them. So this application also has the ability to set up a request approved workflow whereby end users can request access and admin can approve that. So I've actually explained this particular feature that's using the vendor scenario that I explained earlier, whereby the vendor has to request for an access and the admin would approve that access before he or she can have access to your environment. And once that time frame expires, the password will be rotated and the users will be yanked off from the application. So with this application also, you can perform just-in-time privileged elevation. Just-in-time means, let me use a scenario to explain what just-in-time means. Just-in-time means that you don't have access to that particular stuff, but you would like to have access to it now. So let me just simplify it. For example, you have would I say a whitelisted applications in your environment. Maybe there are a list of applications that users can have access to, right? So, and maybe a particular user needs access to one of the blocklisted applications. Due to that, he doesn't have any access to that blocklisted app and he needs access to it. What the IT administrator will do is to just to give that user, that particular user, a just-in-time access to that application. So once that access or the period of time, the window time expires, the user wouldn't have access to that particular application again. So that's what just in time means. Just in time means having access for a particular period of time. So with this application, it can grant just in time privileged elevation of local users and domain users. Maybe you don't have access or the privilege to access a particular application or to perform some actions in a particular resource, in a server, in a Linux machine, or in a network device. And because of the job that you want to carry out, you need access to that particular feature. With this application, we can elevate your status to an admin, and at the end of that particular specified time, the elevation would have to be reduced and you would have gain access, you go back to your normal access. So that's what just-in-time privileged elevation means here. So basically that's what PAM 360 is all about. I would have to do a demonstration on what PAM 360, how PAM 360 is being set up, how the GUI looks like, how to add those resources to the application, how you can navigate on the application to perform the different tasks that I just mentioned, all these features of PAM 360 that I've demonstrated or talked about earlier, how it is being done or carried out in the application. So if you have any questions with that, you can actually let me know. So I'll stop sharing this particular screen to bring up the demo page of PAM 360. So, Lola, I saw your question. It will be attended to after the demonstration of this PAM 360. So you can still send in your questions and it will be attended to at the end of this PAM 360 demonstration. Hope you all can see my screen. Okay, so on the screen is the demo page of the PAM 360 application. So demo page means that this application has been hosted in ManageEngine's site. It has some demo features. I mean, whatever we are doing, we are just going through it. We cannot execute a particular task. We cannot initiate a request from here, but you'll be able to see all the functionality of what Palm 360 has and the kind of report you are going to get from it. So once you launch, after downloading this application, because this is an on-prem application, that means you have to download it, install it in your environment before you can be able to use that. So it has to be installed in a server, or not just a workstation or like a laptop. It has to be installed in a server because this is an enterprise application. Once you've been able to install and set it up, this is how the screen would look like. So we have different users that can have access to this application. So we have the privileged administrator, we have administrator, we have password administrator, we have password auditor, and we have password users. So password users are people that makes use of this application to log on to those resources that you've onboarded. Remember, I said resources means anything that has username and password, whether it's your Linux, whether it is your Windows environment, whether it is your network devices. So those are your Please hope you all can hear me. Am I audible enough? Okay. So I was talking about the password user. Who is the password user? So password users are people that can from the application request access to a particular resource, request access to maybe a Windows server or a Linux machine or a network device. So those are password users. So we have password auditors. What password auditors do is to audit all the password changes in this application. So they'll be able to know all the passwords that have been changed, the passwords that have been rotated, who rotated it, who changed it, and the like. So they only have access to the password management. They only have access to the password management feature of this application. So we have the password administrator. A password administrator means they have full control over the password management. They can be an auditor, they can be a user, they can be an admin. We have the administrator. Administrator means a user that have access to all the features that ManageEngine PAM 360 has. We have a privileged administrator. The difference between privileged administrator and administrator means this administrator comes inbuilt with the application. Like as you launched it, the first user on the application is this administrator. Then the privileged administrator is the one that you created. You created a user and you assigned that role to that particular administrator. That's why it's a privileged administrator. Before you are assigning any role to any user, you also need to ensure that you follow the least privileged user assignment, because you need to assess the roles and what the users can do before you can be able to assign a role on this application to those users. So once you launch the application, this is how the interface would look like. So we have the dashboard. So the dashboard is all about all the activities going on in the application. So it's going to summarize those activities and gives you the total and like the summarized events of what is going on in this particular application. So the first thing you need to do once you launch this application is to add your domain. If you want to onboard your users and your users are domain-based users, you can add your domain here and onboard your users straight from the Active Directory. So this is how you can actually do that. Mm. So remember I said this is a demo page. We wouldn't have direct access to all these features, but I would show you how to do it though. And you can import your users from here, but you first need to add your domain. So you need to add your domain by adding the credentials here, the domain controller, the name of your domain, the account that would pull those users automatically from the domain. So you need a service account that can speak to your domain and pull out all those users that you actually need. So, and you can also automate the process of user addition. In the case whereby you want all the users, license for all the users to be using this application to request access to a particular resource. So you can that is added or to the domain, it would be added automatically to this application. That means for that user to have access to any resource, it has to go through this PAM 360 to have access to those resources. So you can add users automatically by configuring this synchronization interval. That's if a user is added to the domain, let the user be added automatically to ManageEngine PAM 360. So there are different ways in which you can actually fetch users. You can fetch users from your normal AD. You can fetch users from Entra ID. Hold on. So you can fetch users from the Entra ID. So there are different ways you can actually fetch users. You can fetch users from your normal AD, from your Entra ID, uh, actually fetch users from its applications such as Okta and the likes, and also application that Samuel single sign-on is enabled on. You can use those applications to fetch users and import those users directly to this application. So I think I would answer Lola Adeyemi's question now. So he said, or she said, for a client that has Office 365 and is using Entra ID, how do we sell PAM 360 to such clients? And what's the unique feature that it has over Entra ID? Okay, so Entra ID is the same as your Azure AD. So the unique feature that this PAM 360 has over Entra ID, like both of them does separate things. So Entra ID is all about grouping your users, user management, computer management, and the likes, applying license to your users, and managing your user identities. And also, in case of Office 365, assigning users, granting users to some of the Microsoft offerings like your SharePoint, Teams, OneDrives. So those are the things that you can Office 365 and Entra ID can do. But PAM 360 is actually different. What PAM 360 does is privileged account governance. For example, if you have resources hosted in your Azure, you can add those resources to this application. It, you can add those resources to this application so that anytime those Azure users wants to have access to those servers, to your production servers or to any of the servers hosted on your Azure, they need to go through a process. So the main importance of ManageEngine PAM 360 is all about that security that you've implemented in your environment. So that it's not everybody that would have access to a particular resource or to all the resources in your environment. For you to ensure that your enterprise resource is secured and you are following compliance or ensuring compliance in your environment, everybody shouldn't have access to any kind of resource they would like to anytime they want. So they need to go through a process, and those process needs to be monitored. So for an Entra ID or for an Entra ID Microsoft Azure environment, all you just need to do is to onboard those users. If you know those users that you would like them to have access to those resources, to those servers, network devices, you need to import those users to this application and you then grant them that privilege to have access to those resources. I don't know if this answers the question. But if you are looking at you have two applications that speaks to IAM, the PAM 360 and the AD 360. We are still getting to the AD 360, where what AD 360 does is to help the administrator manage those user identities. It can help in user creation, deletion, password resets, and the like. So those kind of manual tasks that can be done on your native AD can be automated using the AD 360. If you are referring to that, we are still getting to that particular application once we are done with the ManageEngine PAM 360. So Lola, can you confirm that I've answered your questions, or if you need more clarifications, you can let me know by dropping that here. Okay. So once the first step is to onboard your users, the second step is to onboard your resources. So those can be done interchangeably. You can onboard your resources first and then your users, or you can do users first, then your resources. So remember, resources are will I say things that have username and password. That things that have username and password. So you can add them manually, you can import them from a file. So a CSV file will be generated for you, and there's a template for that whereby you can upload the CSV file with the details that is required and you onboard them to this application. You can also discover resources automatically. So we have for Windows environment, we have for your Linux environment, we have for your network devices, we have for your VMwares, and we have for your AWS. You can also onboard URLs too. So for your Windows environment, if you want to discover all the resources available in your network, you can do that here. So once you specify the domain and select the particular domain controllers, you'll be able to see all the servers that you have in that particular domain, and you can select them, impute the account name that will speak to that domain controller to fetch all those resources, and those resources will be discovered automatically and be added to this application too. So if you want the resources to be fetched automatically, you need to configure this synchronization interval so that any server that are being joined to the domain will be added to this application automatically. That's how Windows resources are being discovered. We have for Linux. Linux makes use of SSH or Telnet. So depending on the connection mode that you want, all you just need to do is to specify the IP range. You can discover devices, Linux devices, just by the host name or IP address, or the host name IP address from a file. That's when you want to import it, or you can discover it using IP address range. So if you use IP address range, it's going to be more viable. Yes, it's going to be more viable so that you can be able to get the list of all the Linux devices, or the Linux devices that you have in your environment. So here you need to input the IP address range from so IP address to IP address. And you need to also add a profile, because without that profile, you won't be able to enter into those Linux environment to get the kind of resources that you would want. So Linux makes use of SSH. So you need to enter the SSH port, the user prompt that you use, that you would like to use to enter into those Linux to get the devices or the resources that are available in that particular IP range. So once you've actually add your profile, you save it and it will discover all the Linux machines that you have. Same for network devices. If you want to discover all the network devices and you like to manage them using PAM 360, you can do that from here. I just need to is to specify the IP range, add profile. Network devices makes use of SNMP. So you need to specify the read community. You need to specify the write community. Once all these things has been provisioned, it will discover all the network devices for you. Same for VMwares, same for your AWS. So for your AWS, you need to specify the region where in which you are operating, the access key, the secret key. All this can be gotten directly from your AWS management console. Once that has been gotten, you add your profile also by specifying the resource name, the account name, and if you are using SSH private key, you use that. You can do that, get it from the management console, then onboard it here, and it will discover all AWS platform. So this is how to discover resources. So once resources have been discovered, that's when you can perform those features that I talked earlier, like session management, account management, SSL certificates, SSH management, and the likes. So that's when you can be able to perform that. First, add your user. Second, add your resources. So you can also group those your resources for proper management. So for example, after discovering all those resources, instead of your resources to be scattered, you can group them. So there are different ways in which you can group those resources. We have the static group, whereby you manually add those resources to a particular group. Then we have the automatic group, the dynamic, whereby you set a rule that if this resources matches this particular rule, if it matches this particular rule, let that resources be added to that particular group automatically. So with that, you can be able to group all your resources and then manage them seamlessly from this application. So once you add your resources here, this is how it would look like. For example, you can see the kind of resources that have been added. AWS, IAM, Arubas, Linux, Microsoft, website accounts. So these are the kind of Windows resources and the like. So these are the kind of resources that can be added. So once you add these resources, you'll be able to see all the accounts, local accounts present in that particular resource. Sometimes we IT admins doesn't know the number of local accounts we have in a particular server or in a particular resource. But with this application, it would automatically detect all the local accounts present. You can also create accounts directly from here, and it will be applied to those resources directly. So for example, so this is a particular resource. It has detected all the accounts available here. It can also detect service accounts too. Service accounts that are being used in that particular resource. So once that has been done, there are different things or actions that can be done to a particular account. Actions such as, if you want to share this, maybe if you want to share the password to a particular user account to another user, a privileged user, you can share it to that user. You can share it with a user group. Maybe there are lots of people that you would like to share that account to. You can initiate that request from here. You can also, hold on. You can also perform remote password reset. Maybe you feel that particular password have been compromised, that you need to reset that password. You can do that. You can initiate the password reset from here. You can also perform self-service privilege elevation, like just-in-time elevation that I talked about. Maybe a particular user wants to have access to a particular server, and the kind of roles or the kind of access that he doesn't have that kind of access, and he needs that particular access to that server right now. You can elevate his privilege immediately, and he can be able to perform any activities or actions on that particular resource. And also, whereby you need to will I say you need to implement a workflow for your users and your admin. In the case whereby maybe a user wants to have access to a server, he or she uh need to raise a request for it, and the admin would approve before he or she would have access to that. So this is where you can actually configure that, the kind of admin, that the person that would approve it before the user would have access to that particular server. And also this PAM 360 is designed based on ownership concepts. What that means is that whatever I do on my own dashboard, even though you're an administrator on this particular dashboard, on this particular application, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. The only person that can see the overall activities or what is going on this application is the main administrator. Before I entered into this application, I showed you the kind of roles that are available. We have the password users, we have the password auditors, and the privileged administrators. So, but even if you're an administrator and you onboarded several resources to this application, another administrator wouldn't see what is going on your own dashboard. So it is designed based on ownership concepts. But if you want another administrator, maybe another administrator wants to have access to your own particular resource, you can share your resources with those administrator. So you can share it from here. You can share it with that particular administrator, by specifying the name of that user here, and it will be shared across, or you can share it to a particular user group. You can see that here. And if you want, maybe you don't want, if you want to revoke the access, you can come back here to revoke it. So you can perform a password reset. You can create a local account on those resources that you've onboarded. You can share those your resources with other users. You can perform self-service elevation, the just-in-time elevation on those passwords and on those accounts. So those are the things you can do on the password management of this application. So in Palm 360, most of all these features can actually act as a standalone. So in password management, the standalone application is Password Manager Pro. So the Password Manager Pro has all these features that you're just seeing on the screen. So if the client just wants to manage only password and connections, like they would like to use this application to perform a remote control to a remote access to a particular resource, but they don't just want to use this application to generate certificates and manage SSL. Can't you hear me? And manage SSL, you can just tell them to go for Password Manager Pro, which is a standalone application. But if they are looking at password management, SSL management, um, SSH keys management, they can go for the whole Palm 360. They can go for the whole Palm 360. Please hope I'm audible enough. Can you all hear me? Okay, thank you, Stephanie, for confirming. So I've talked the password management. So the next that we are going to look at is the connections. So you can, from this application, connect remotely to all those resources that you've onboarded to this application. And you can also initiate a screen recording, a recording for that particular session. It's called session recording rather, not screen. Session recording for that particular resource, so that users won't be able to deny the activities that are being carried out on that particular resource. And once you join, for example, a user used this application, launch this application for the purpose of remote connection. And as an admin, you can also join that session to monitor the activities, even though the session recording is being turned on automatically. The user over there won't know that you've joined this session. So it will not even prompt the user to accept you in. You can just join to monitor the activities that the user is performing on that particular source. So assuming this is a live session or a live application, you'll be able to see all the resources here. All you just need to do is to click on it and you would have access to that particular resources. So you can also use this for your SSH keys. So if you want to generate more keys for your Linux environment, you can create new keys here and you can associate it to that Linux environment. You can reset keys from here. You can rotate the keys. So it helps in end-to-end life cycle of your SSH keys. So you can create new keys and map it to a Linux. You can create another key inside of those Linux devices. You can rotate maybe for a particular period of time. It will retain that key, and after that, that key will be rotated. So for any user that have the initial key would have to request for a new key to have access to those resources. So that's how the SSH key management works. So the next that we are going to look at is the certificate. You know, I said with this application, you can be able to perform certificate management. You can be able to create your own certificate, and you can also sign it using Palm 360 for self-signed certificates. You can also integrate with all these certificate bodies here, GoDaddy, DigiCert, Global Sign. Once you have an account with these certificate bodies, you can add them to this application, and you can use them to sign your certificate and deploy it directly to the resource that you would like the SSL to be assigned to. So this is how you can add certificates from here. You can generate a CSR. You can generate a CSR by inputting the name of the application, the organization name, and the likes. So all those things you can just generate, create a CSR. CSR means certificate sign request. You can create it here, come to this Acme or GoDaddy, but you need to add the your GoDaddy account to this application before you can use GoDaddy to GoDaddy to sign that certificate. So once that certificate expires, you can come back here to renew those certificates, or you can reissue a particular certificate or check the certificate issued. So it also manage the end-to-end life cycles of certificates from the creation to the renewal to the to the end of those certificates. So all those can be done on this particular console. So in terms of auditing, because in terms of auditing, we're able to see all the resources that have been audited, the resources that have been added to this application, all the active privileged sessions. If there's any sessions that is active, you'll be able to see that, and you can also join. You can see this join field here. So assuming there is a resource here that is active, there'll be a join button whereby the administrator would join without the user knowing that someone has joined the session. You can also see all the recorded server connections, the recorded website connections, all the key audits. So you'll be able to see the key audits, the certificate audits, the user audits, and the likes. So there are lots of audits that is being done on this application. The people that is being done on this application, it will give you details like the action performed, the time it was performed, the reason it was performed, and the likes. So you see all those audit reports on this console. So in general, what PAM 360 helps you to achieve is the privileged account management, privileged session management, privileged elevation and delegation management, and also just in time with SSH keys and certificate management. That's what ManageEngine PAM 360 helps you to achieve. The first thing you need to do is to set up your application by downloading it and installing it on the provisioned server. Launch it and add all those resources that you would like to manage and users that would make use of this application. So assuming you've done all those things and you would like to go live. So and you've already added your users here, right? So if any user wants to have access to a particular server, they don't need to go through the RDP route again, because by then you would have disabled RDP. RDP, remote desktop connection, won't be working again. So they have to go through this ManageEngine PAM 360 to have access to that particular resource. So I would show you how. So this console you are seeing is the admin console. So let me show you the So for users, see how it would look like. So when you add resources, if an admin add resources to the application, you can map the resources to a particular user. So any resources that is being mapped to a particular user will be reflected on your own dashboard. So each users will have their own dashboard. So my dashboard might be different from another person's dashboard. And so from here, you can be able to initiate a remote connection to that particular device or resource here. So you'll be able to initiate a request for you to have an access. Once that access has been granted, you'll be able to have access to that particular resource. And once you have access, the session recording would start automatically and it will record all what you are doing on that particular server. So this is how it looks from the user's console. So the user's console is separate from the admin. So for you to be able to connect to a particular resource, you need to launch this application and go through this route to have access to those resources. That's what PAM 360 is all about. So do you have any questions? Because I would like to go ahead to share the questionnaire. Maybe if you have any a client that is requesting for PAM 360, there are different information that is required for you to be able to advise better on which edition that the client needs to go for and the likes, and also in terms of quotation. So there is this questionnaire that will be shared with the client. The client would fill the questionnaire, and with that, you can be able to gather informations and provide the right information to the client. So sometimes the client doesn't understand the questionnaire that is being sent to them. So it's now you that would explain to the client what the questionnaire is all about, what each line is talking about, and the likes. So if there is no question on this particular application, I'll go ahead to share the questionnaire. So I'm going through the how does the admin set up this RDP to allow users keep the normal RDP process? Do you mean how to disable the RDP and to use this for the RDP process? I don't know. Tochukwu, can you rephrase your question, please? So if you want to disable RDP, that has to be done through your group policy. So you disable RDP from your group policy on all the servers. So if you prompt an RDP from your system to connect to a particular system, it wouldn't work. So you have to go through this route to connect to that server. Tochukwaji, did I answer your question? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, so once you disable RDP, you need to educate or you need to train your users. So password users cannot be all the users in your environment because it's not all users in your environment that does RDP. So it's have to be for a specified users. So you need to train them, you need to sensitize them on the need for using this application to log on to those servers. So you need to train them on how to use that. And once that has been communicated, they don't need to go through the route of RDP. They'll be using this application for that. Are we installing the application on each user system, or it will only be installed on the server alone? And yes, we are not installing the application on each user system. So the first thing you need to do is to install this app. This is an enterprise application. Install it on a server and then add your users. So once you add the users to this application, this is a web-based application. So the user would have access to this ManageEngine PAM 360 by accessing it through a browser using a URL and the port number. So with that URL and port number, they can launch into this application and carry out the activities. You don't need to install the application for each user. If you do that, it has defeated the purpose. This is a web-based application. Ayodeji, are you there? Does that answer your question? Okay, so the questionnaire I'm about to share now will speak to the licensing and the package. So I'm expecting more question on this ManageEngine PAM 360 based on the demonstration that I just did. So if there is no more questions on this particular app one, I would go ahead to share my screen for us to look at the questionnaire that will be shared with the client.
All right, Anika, can you share the screen so that we can go ahead with the question here?
Can you all see my screen? But I think some people are raising their hands up.
Okay. I think we just got one person here. Ayodeji. Ayodeji, would you like to ask a question, or have you asked a question earlier that have been answered? Please go ahead. Ayodeji, you have the floor. Please go ahead, ask your question.
Okay. My question is concerning the password management. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah, it's under password management. Yeah, you said that we know that okay, this password management, this one automatically generate password like maybe and also rotate, right?
Yes.
Okay, so does it mean that it generates password for the user automatically, or can the user itself generate password manually by themselves, or we should only go for the password generated by the management? Or so which so which one do you think uh, is more advisable? We should go for all. So since it's automatically generating password, so does it mean that we don't need to do what input password by ourselves? Or so that's the question I need to ask, which I don't really understand there.
Okay. So the automatic password rotation is based on preference. So it's not something that is being done automatically if you don't enable that particular feature, right? So,
Okay.
but if you want that feature to be enabled, that and you specify the number of days, for example, 30 days,
Okay.
let this password be rotated. It will do that for you.
Okay.
So
After 30
not
days.
yeah, you need you will be the one to specify the number of days. You can say
Okay. Yes.
after 30 days,
Okay.
let this password be rotated. And
Okay.
if a password has been rotated, that means a new password will be generated for that particular account. And the users doesn't have any right to see, doesn't have that right or access to see those passwords. That's why you're implementing this password 360. You don't want users to have all the passwords to a particular server. You want only the privileged users to have access to that.
Okay. Like administrator, right?
Yes, the administrator. So let me just give a scenario. Like in an organization, they have server admins,
Yeah, of
they
course.
have users making use of those servers, right?
Server. Yeah.
So those server admins would be like an administrator on this application, right? So the users would just be like a password user. So now in such environment, if they want to perform some functions in a particular server actions, the user will just open up their RDP to a particular server. Maybe they will
Mm-hmm.
now request the password from the
Yeah.
server admin. Gaio, I need a password for this particular server. I want to
Okay.
log on
Okay.
to it. So you
Okay.
don't want that process. You don't want the users to know the password.
To okay
So
to be
because they
asked.
would abuse it.
Okay, but in a case that okay, since this thing is generating by automatically by admin, and the password changed, so how the are you saying the user will now log in automatically without knowing the password, or what?
Okay, so there are two ways. So if you've given the user full control, because you can grant the user full control to log on to a particular resource. So the user doesn't even need to know the password. Once that resource is appearing on his dashboard, the user will just log on and log into that particular resource automatically without even
Know the
inputting
password
username
to
and
just log in. That's all.
just log in.
So
That's all.
is that the way the person will be working all days without, or the system log out by itself automatically and then nobody will log into it?
So once there is session recording in place. So once the user finishes what he is doing on that server, he will just log out. And anytime he wants to log in, he can just without knowing the password, he can just log in. This is the first scenario
So which
whereby you
means anybody can come there and log in then.
no, it's not anybody that can come. It's only the users present on the application that have access to those resources. When I was demonstrating earlier, there is place for you to onboard resources. There is place for you to onboard users, right? So it's only the users that you added to the application that would have the access to all those resources.
Okay, is it by no? Let's say it this way. Is it by putting the username? That's all, and it's login.
So I think I need to
You know
go
why
back.
I'm asking? Why I'm asking this is that I'm convincing you. You said now me. Let's just say, for example, me as a case study. Okay, now I'm the user. making use of this stuff. And now I don't have access to any password or anything. So they generated by the other hand. And you said if I come on to my deck, if I just click, it's opened.
Yes.
So what security? Does it mean that there's no security that do what attached to it? That now since it's opening by itself when I come down with my own user this thing, and which means anybody can come to my own table as well and do what? Make
Just
use
like I
of
said,
it.
yes. So I understand your own point of view. So for you to be able to give such role to that particular user, you would know the kind of user that person is. But if you want, there are different approach to this. So, but if you want the user to, before the user can enter or have access to a particular resource, the person would have to first of all request for the access. The administrator would approve it before he or she can have access to that particular resource. There is an approach for that one. So there are different approach to that. So if I don't want to give you the full control to just log on to a particular resource, I particular server request for an access first. After the access has been requested, the admin would have to review access to this particular server. If yes, he'll give you access. If you know, and that access will be limited. He or she will give you the number of like the time from when to when that you'd have access to that server. The session will be terminated automatically. So, but if the admin goes through your request and sees that you don't actually need to go to that server, he would revoke access and you will not have access. So, in a scenario whereby the user doesn't have to initiate a request to have an access to a particular server, so it depends on the kind of user that has been configured for
So
such actions. I don't know if you understand. It's not all users that can be configured for such actions. And it's not even all users that have access to this application. It's users that have been onboarded to this application can have access to the application. You know, when I was demonstrating earlier, you need to onboard your users from the Active Directory.
so
So if
if I'm making a request, so how does the request appear? Is it by code or which what mix of request for the administrator to know that yes, I am the one?
So when you log on to the application, there will be a request, what's it even icon, request icon beside the resource you want to log on to. So you just click on request. So you click on request. There's a reason for request. You put in your reason. So automatic, there have been a workflow that have been configured at the back end. There's a workflow already that have been configured at the back end. So once you click on that request, it will be routed to the administrator. The administrator would see your request from his own dashboard, look at it, review your request, and then grant or revoke that access to that resource. Have you seen how the workflow is?
Yeah. Yes.
So, so that's how the workflow is. So there will be no code that will be sent to anybody. You just request by clicking on the request icon, fill in the reason why you want to have access because there'll be a request for a reason and it is mandatory. So you have to fill it in. It will now be routed to the administrator. The administrator would check your reason for request. If it is worth it, he'll give you access. If it is not worth it,
Okay, that's clear. And can look
All
at
right.
can you respond to allow Ferdinand to ask his question? Ferdinand,
so does the PAM has ability to record? Yes, it has ability to record administrators' activities. It has the ability to record administrators' activities. So there are different audit reports that I showed you. The user audit report. Users can be administrators, can be password users, it can be password auditors. So it has the ability to record administrator activities. And it can, like I said, the session recording for connection, like for remote control, is being done automatically. So as you log on, the session recording will start and it will be recorded and stored on the server hosting this
Okay.
application.
Does it that the where sorry, hello, my name is Sudanshi. Does it have the storage vault? Where is it? Where is it located and who have access to it? And how protected is that vault?
So this application is on-prem. It's being
Okay.
hosted in your environment. So the recording is being stored on the server that is hosting ManageEngine Pantry system. So that server needs to be saved. It's not all everybody that would have access to that server. Does that answer
Okay, so
your
if I have
question?
access to the server, that means I will automatically have access to that vault.
That what?
The vault where the recording and every session is stored.
The recording is actually encrypted too.
Yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
it's encrypted that even if you click on it, if you go to the server to go to where the repository is, or
Mhm.
the recording repository, and click, it won't open. It's actually encrypted.
It's encrypted, but somehow if we truly want to get access to the recording, we can decrypt it and play it, right?
So you can only play it from this application, and the person that can play it is only the administrator,
And it's
the
because no administrator.
the general administrator. We have privileged administrator, we have the super administrator. So it's only the super administrator that
The
can
super
play.
administrator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's super administrator. Okay. That means you have to trust that person there.
Yeah, you have to trust him.
Because you still have a risk there. Doesn't it have a situation where you need two people to be able to access the vault?
He can assign that role. He can do a role
Where it will
division.
require two people, two super admin users before you can access that main super admin
Okay, I
function.
understand your
Yeah.
question. There's word for it. Like two people needs to be present for that vault to be open, right?
Yes.
Currently, that particular feature is not available yet, but that has been noted down. Would communicate that to the OEM.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, one more question from Ferdinand.
Will the questionnaire be shared with us via email? Yes, it will be shared to you. So this is the questionnaire that needs to be sent to the client to gather informations before they write.
Nika, I don't know if Ferdinand had asked his question.
Yes, I'm
Well,
looking at the question and the answer.
no, I'm talking about Ferdinand that raised his hand earlier. So I don't know if you still want to ask this question before you proceed.
I think he dropped it on the chat.
Oh,
Will the
interesting.
questionnaire be shared with us via email? So I answered yes, it will be shared.
See. Okay, so let us go through this questionnaire. So the questionnaire is more like a scoping sheet that helps you to get the customer's request. So sometimes you might not have the skill or the technical know-how on how to get the customer's request. So the questionnaire is just like a guide that will assist you in doing that. So once you want to engage a client on PAM 360, you can reach out to us. We share this questionnaire with you. And also at the end of this session, we after the webinar, we're going to send this questionnaire to you. So you can see the question that have been asked in this questionnaire. PAM 360, can you kindly go up a little bit? It said PAM 360 is available in Enterprise and MSP edition. So the Enterprise is one of the edition you have for PAM 360, and the MSP is like when you want to onboard this solution into multiple customers. Like you are buying the license for a multiple customers. So more like you want to manage multiple customer using the solution. That's the MSP license. You can actually get that. So most of the ManageEngine solution have MSP license, right? So using PAM 360, your IT administration can be centrally create users and assign them. So it's just more like a brief on what PAM 360 can achieve for you. So you ask the question, the customer, what edition do they want? Right on the BOQ, they can just indicate if it is enterprise or MSP, right? I likely multiple customers using this solution. So we have such license. Amaka, kindly move up a little bit. So the next question here is, do you require the application to support multi-language, right? Maybe you want to sell to a Chinese company that do not really understand. So you can just click on this. It gives you opportunity for them to have this solution onboarded in their expected language. How many admin requires access to manage the password, right? Amaka rightly mentioned that PAM 360 is managed based on the number of admins. So you can state the number of admins that you intend to manage this. So PAM 360 comes with 5 default users, right? Default users, 5. You can increase the number of administrators. You are right. So the default user is 5. They said PAM 360 comes with 5 default user roles: administrators, password administrators, privilege management, privilege administrators, password users, password auditor. The term administrator denotes administrators, password administrators, privilege access. So license is based on the number of administrators, password administrators, privilege administrators. There is no restriction on the number of password users and auditors. So you could ask your clients, how many admin do you require for this solution? Knowing fully well that the solution comes with a default number of 5 admin. If they want to increase to 7, 10, they can also indicate in the at the middle. How many number of keys requires to be managed? You state that. If it is 25, 500 numbers, just state it. I think Enrique mentioned what the keys means. So I think your SSH certificate and SSH private keys. So those are what that implies. So, and the applications can be either in subscription or perpetual. It depends on what the client wants. So if the client wants a subscription license, they can indicate here, or a perpetual license, they can also indicate here. So just to let you know, the perpetual license is one of, the subscription is yearly license. So if the client is purchasing the perpetual license, obviously they are going to be paying for AMS. So they can indicate the number of AMS they want to pay for. And scroll up. So I think that's virtually all. So there's not much question. So if you want to get a PAM 360, can just ask customer a number of keys that they want on board on the solution, and if is it subscription or is it perpetual? That's all. So, America, do you have any other thing to say?
Nothing. You've actually said it all. So these are the things that the customer needs to fill in before he can be able to come up with the kind of edition, advise them on the edition that they will go for, and also generate a proper quotation for them. So this is what they need to fill in if they request for PAM 360. So do you have any question on that? Please, can you send us the demo for this PAM 360? So the demo, you can all access this demo on your URL All you just need to do is to type in demo.manageenginepumptraceSD.com. The demo page will be opened. And also there is a 30 days free trial if you want to actually see how this functionality works, because some clients sometimes they would ask you, okay, you said this, I would like to see it work, like how Nigerians behave. It's not just by talking, we would like to see how it works. So there is this free trial version that is available. Download it, implement it, add all the users you would like to add, do everything that you like to do, but it's just for 30 days. After 30 days, you won't have access to, or you'll be limited to the kind of functionalities that you would have. So you can download that, install it in your own environment, and carry out the different functionalities of this also. And you can access the demo page for using the demo.manageenginepumptree60.com. That's how you can access it.
Okay, so you can also reach out to us if you need assistance in terms of you want to have a trial done in the client environment. We can assist you in that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do
So
you have any
remember,
other chatbot?
remember at the beginning of this presentation, I said there are two applications that speaks to identity and access management. So we have the PAM 360 and we have the AD 360. So there are two different applications. But they all speaks to identity and access management. While PAM speaks to privileged account management, password management, SSL certificates, and SSH certificates, while AD360 speaks to account governance and administration. So what AD360 does is that it helps the IT admin to automate all the AD administrative tasks, such as the user creation, user deletion, computer creation, and the likes. So it helps to automate all those processes, all from a single console. So it does identity governance and administration, and also IT compliance and security management. So AD360 is a suite of an application that houses several applications. And those applications are also features of AD360, but can act as a standalone application. So we have ManageEngine AD Manager Plus. You can see that here. We have AD Manager Plus, which helps to manage all your user identities from start to finish, automate all those processes for you. We have the AD Audit Plus, which helps you with, from the name audit, it helps to audit all the events happening in your AD environment. It can be your domain controllers, it can be your member servers, it can be your Entra ID, it can be your workstations too. So your file servers are inclusive too. So it helps to audit all those events happening on those endpoints. So it answers the question of who, what, and when. Who assessed this endpoint? What was done and when was it done? And who even carried it out? So that's the question that AD Audit Plus answers. The next feature of AD360 is AD Self-Service Plus. The AD Self-Service, that self-service, it gives the users the privilege to reset or carry out some of these AD tasks by themselves. Tasks such as resetting password, unlocking accounts, changing password, and updating informations. And also with AD self-service, you can configure single sign-on on different applications, and also configure multi-factor authentication on endpoint. There are lots of let me just use a quick scenario for large enterprise organization. One of the major ticket or the major tickets that they receive, especially the help desks, what they receive is my account has been locked, so I cannot log in. that my password has been expired. So these are the tickets that help desks or support people always receive. So with LD self-service, you can give that user the power to do those things by themselves. So imagine them resetting their password by themselves. It will relieve the IT support engineers or the help desks some of those activities, and they will focus more on other productive activities. So once you implement it, users can be able to reset password by themselves. They can unlock their accounts. They can change password. They can update information on their AD. Then also, it's AD360 helps in managing your Exchange reporter. So if your clients are making use of Exchange Online or Exchange On-Prem, with this application, you can be able to manage those your Exchange environment. So there are lists of, from the name Exchange Reporter, it reports to give you reports on all the Exchange activities that you have. So we have the Office 365 Manager Plus, which helps to which helps admin to administer some of those Office 365 So for example, if a user said that, oh, I'm only interested, or if a client says that I'm only interested in managing my users in my Active Directory, I don't want to audit, I don't want to give users the privilege to reset their password. What I just need is to automate the process of user provisioning, computer provisioning, and the likes. So you don't need to pitch this whole AD360 to them. What they just need is AD Manager Plus. But in a case whereby the user wants the AD Manager Plus, the user creation, and they want to audit the environment and also want to give user the power to reset or carry out those tasks, instead of them getting this application one after the other separately, you have to pitch AD360, because with AD360 they would have access to those applications. So that's the difference, or that's how you can be able to actually sell this application to your clients. So 360 brings everything together in a single console. So it helps in managing your Active Directory and your Office 365. It have different inbuilt reports ranging from your AD, ranging from your Exchange environment, and also from your Office 365. With AD360, you can perform secure single sign-on and password self-service. So single sign-on means that you don't want every now and then, if you want to log on to an application, you would input username and password. You want to use one credential for several applications. That once it has been configured, once you've imputed that first credential on of your credential on the first application, it would automatically allow you to log on to all the applications. You don't need to always log on to applications using your credentials before you have access to them. Once you log on first, it would allow you to log on to other applications that you've configured SSO on. And once you log out, it will automatically log you out from all those applications. That's what single sign-on means. So with AD360, you can back up, you can restore objects, mailboxes, site collections, and more. And you can also perform in-depth auditing and also carry out automation, delegation, and workflow in your environment. So this is what AD Manager Plus does. Like, I'll just be taking it one after the other. The AD Manager Plus, that's one of the feature of AD360, which helps in account user provisioning, carrying out all those tasks that can be done on your native AD. like resetting password, creating users, creating computers, creating groups, group management. All those things can be done on the AD Manager Plus. And the beauty of it is that you can automate them. You can automate all these processes. For example, we have a HR, um, or HR have list of users or employees that joined the organization newly. Like there are lots of them. So and they can't just they can't just be adding those users manually on the AD, because you need to create accounts for those employees. So you just need to do is to upload the employees details on a CSV template. Tell this application to always be going to that CSV to check if there are new users, and it will create their users automatically. You can also integrate your HR solution to this application in such case that whereby if you, for example, you're using SAP or Zoho People, or which other HR applications do we have? Ulti and the likes. So you can integrate them with this application that if the HR is making an entry into that application and that user has not been created before, AD Manager will see that application, will see that employee details and check if that details has been created on it. If no, it will pick up that details and the details will be created automatically for you. So this will save a lot of time for the AD administrators. They don't need to be going to the AD every now and then to be creating users and the likes. So it can do all those things automatically for you, thereby ensuring that seamless operations are being done, and also in terms of security too. Because it's not always good to be logging on to your domain controller to carry out some certain tasks. Domain controller are meant to be logged on once in a while, maybe for an audit purposes or anything. But it's not supposed to be something that you need to be logging on every now and then just to be creating users. You can use this application to do all those things that you can do manually. So you can configure SSO for cloud applications, and you can also enhance security with stronger password policy, such that any user that doesn't meet up with the password policies, you'll be able to see that, and you can send a notification to them to reset their password. And if their password expires and they still didn't go use that password policies, they won't be able to log on using their credentials. So with the AD self-service feature of AD 360, you can fortify access to sensitive resources by using MFA, multi-factor authentication. So I think cybersecurity is called defense in depth. So there should be multiple securities before you can be able to have access to a particular resource. So that's why it's good to configure MFA for your resources. Whether your Windows, whether your Mac OS, your Linux endpoints, and applications too. That whenever you want to log in, you need two steps for you to be able to two steps authentication for you to be able to have access to that particular resources. So you can also perform self-service password reset and unlock for LDAP accounts. This is for AD self-service, whereby you give users the privilege to reset password, unlock accounts by themselves. You can see how the automation works. This is the new employees, the user details in a CSV format. This is the automation module. So you need to ensure that this application, this AD 360 is seeing those user details, so that anytime new features has been added, it will automatically create the user account in your AD automatically. Create it on your AD. So you can use this automation for user creation. You can use this to clean up your stale account, clean up your AD, maybe disable user accounts or deactivate user account and the likes. So you can automate all those process. So with AD360 also, you can back up all AD, Exchange, and Office 365 objects. So you can back them up. I talked about full backup. You can initiate a full backup. You can initiate an incremental backup, and you can initiate a differential backup. Incremental backup means it will back up from where it stopped. For example, you initiated a backup today, and by tomorrow, new events have been written to your AD. So it will start from where it stopped yesterday to back it up. So that's incremental backup. So it will do all those backups for you so that in case of any accidental deletion, you can go back and restore those backups. So it has that functionality for you. So with AD360 also, you can perform AD auditing. You can audit your ADs and you'll be able to see all the activities happening in your AD. For example, maybe a service account or this privileged account logged onto a server to do something. We can, from this application, you can be able to see those kind of reports. But this application feeds from the event viewer of your your domain controller. So, in every computers generate logs and events. Every computer generates logs and events, and those logs and events can be viewed from your event viewer. If you just type event viewer on your system, it will bring out a page where you see all the logs all the events that have been happening on your system. But the problem is, can you analyze those logs? Can you analyze those events? Analyzing them can be very tedious. It can be very tedious, but once you implement AD Audit Plus in your environment, it will fetch all those data, all the events from the event viewer, and then analyze the reports to give you the kind of reports, readable reports that you are looking out for. So that's how it works. So you can perform real-time change auditing, real-time alerts. You want to be receiving alerts real-time, it will give you that. There are different kind of compliance reports for auditing sake for auditors. Because some auditors will come into a client environment and they'll be like, okay, are you following this SOS compliance standard or HIPAA standard? So if yes, they would like to see those kind of reports. So with this application, you can generate those kind of reports for them. So this is how it looks like, even though I've still demonstrated. This is how it looks like. You'll be able to see the different kind of reports, the logon failures, user logon activity, user management. User was created. When was it created? Who created it? User tried to log on to this particular server and it failed. Why did it fail? So those kind of things can always be captured using this application. And also, machine learning and artificial intelligence has been embedded on the AD Audit Plus to detect anomalies and unusual behaviors. So yes, so it makes use of machine learning, algorithms, and AI to detect unusual activities. Unusual activities can be let me give you a scenario. So you have a production server and administrators have been logging into that particular server, like several administrators have been logging into that server. But there's this particular administrator that have not logged on to that server or have not initiated any log on to that server at all. And the first time he does that, this application is going to capture that particular event and send an alert to the IT administrator stating that so user is trying to have access to this application. Though it's not going to stop the user from accessing this server, it's not going to stop it, but it will send an alert to the IT administrator. So from there, the IT administrator, whoever that is in charge, will take an informed decision. Maybe review the user or go and do research about the user if that user have the access to log on to that server. So something like that. So all these things can be detected using AD Audit Plus. And another scenario is you have working hours, right? And within that working hours, um users can log into a particular system and log out. But you notice that a particular user logged on after working hours or before logging hours. So all those things are unusual activities. This application is going to capture all those things and detect their anomalies too. Or unusual volume of failed file access. Maybe you are trying to access a particular file. As you are trying to access it, it's failing and he kept on accessing it. So it's going to send out an alert to the administrator to tell the administrator this particular person has been trying to access this particular file. Go and investigate. So it will prompt the administrator to investigate that user and to know why that user is accessing the file, even though the access is failing. But he kept on, or he or she kept on accessing it. So all those things are anomalies or unusual activities. So you can monitor your OUs, you can monitor your group, your account, your computers. So there are computer user management reports that can be gotten from here. Recently created users, recent users, and the like. The auditing, there's no management there. What it does is report. We don't review reports. The strength of the application lies on the reports. So there is no management there. All you just need to do is to add those endpoints that you'd like the application to audit for you, and what you'd get is auditing, reporting, nothing else. So that's what the application is all about. So like I said, there are different compliance standard that this application works follows. So it follows SOS, HIPAA, FISMA, GLBA, ISO, PCI DSS. For mostly PCI DSS, mostly for these financial organizations or backing sectors, they're always asking them for PCI DSS. So all these are being f- all these are being let's say designed into the application. So it brings everything together in a single console. That's why it's called AD 360. The 360 means everything together in a single console. So this is how like going through the slides and share the page for the AD360 demonstration. So do you have any question to this? I think the first question that Lola asked, I think this is the application that you're referring to. For example, as he said, for a client that has Office 365 and is using Entra ID, how do we sell PAM 360 to such a client? What's the unique features that it has over Entra ID? I think you are speaking to this AD 360, not the PAM 360. So the unique feature that it has over Entra ID, there are many. You can see all the features that are listed for you. You can't do automation in all those things. So what the application does is that you need to integrate those Entra ID, your native AD to this application, and you can then carry out all these tasks or features that I just mentioned earlier. But you need to first of all integrate. Instead of you going to the application directly to your Azure portal to do all these things manually, you can use this application to automate those processes for you. Does you have any question before I go into the demonstration? So I've stopped sharing my screen now, and okay, Ayodeji, you are raising your hands up. You can ask your question, please. Chimezono, okay, that is noted. I'll keep my mic close to my mouth. So, but you can hear me now, right? Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, we can. Please, right.
So Ayodeji, is that Ayodeji? Yes. You are raising up your hand. You can ask your question. Someone raised his hands up. Please, you can ask your question now before I go into the demonstration. Okay, so in absence of any question, I want to share my screen for the demonstration. Can you all see my screen? Okay, so on the screen is ManageEngine Edit 360 demo. So if you want to access the demo page, all you just need to do is to type in demo.edit360plus.com and you would have access to that. The demo is just like a dummy page. There is nothing there just for you to see the features of what this Edit 360 can do. Maybe you went to a client site, you are pitching this Edit 360 to your customer would like, I would like to see the features, I would like to see how the GUI looks like, I want to see how the application is. So you can just bring up the demo page and show the client. But as you are doing that, you actually need to know how to navigate in case if the client asks you. So we have different mode of logging in. We have the administrator login and technician. So administrator means they have the power over this application. They can do anything. They're the ones configuring and doing most of the configuration and having access to all the features that is available. For technicians, their role is limited. And you can see all the features that this application has, the identity lifecycle management, which I've talked about in the area of user creation across your Office 365, even G Suite, your AD and your Exchange environment, real-time auditing, SSO and password sync, backup and recovery, the AD automation, and also the password self-service. So these are the features that this ManageEngine 360 AD360 has. So I'm going to log in as an administrator and be able to see all the features of AD360. So it's still loading. You can see by the side all those things that I talked about. We have the AD Manager Plus. We have the AD Audit, Self-Service, M365. That's your Office 365. The Azure Entra ID Management, the Exchange Reporter Plus, Recovery Manager Plus, and SharePoint Manager Plus. So all these you can see are features of AD360. And they can also act as a standalone. So sometimes it is since this is a demo page, it actually takes time. So you can see this is from the AD 360 console, the AD Manager Plus. And this is where I accessed the Manager Plus as a standalone. So I'll just open it to be able to see that both of them have the same console, the same features and everything. It's just that this one only speaks to AD Manager Plus, and this one speaks to all the features that I just mentioned earlier. So you can see that this AD Manager Plus as a standalone, it has the home management reports, M365 governance, and the likes. And if you look at this, it's still the same thing. So it can act as a standalone. It can also be part of the AD 360. So these are the kind of management that can be done. You can perform user management whereby you create users, you can create bulk users, and you can modify them too. You can also reset password. But this is admin faced. User doesn't have access to this AD Manager Plus. So AD Manager Plus is an admin faced application whereby it's only administrators, users that have access to this application that can carry out this task. So they can reset password, they can unlock users, they can move users from one OU to the other, they can delete, they can restore deleted users, they can create user mailboxes, they can migrate mailboxes from one version to the other, Windows mailboxes. They can modify their contact attributes and the like. So all these things can be done under the user management. So we have user management, we have computer management. You can move computers, you can delete computers, you can reset computers. There are group management here too. You can do all these things. All these things that can be done on your native AD can be done here. Contact management, mailbox management, OUs, you can even perform migration. You can perform user migration, group migrations, and the like. So all these things can actually be done from the management module of the AD Manager Plus. So if a user just comes to you and tell you that I'm looking for an application that helps in managing users, user identities, it's just AD Manager Plus. You just pitch AD Manager Plus to the users. And AD ManageEngine AD Manager is one of the leading IAM tool using Gartner ratings. So someone just dropped. Is it not better you accompany the person for the demo instead of postponing the demo to next period? It will not make a good impression. Yes, we can accompany the partners to make demonstration, but most of the demonstration can actually be done virtual. So we can schedule reach when you are meeting your clients, you can let us know first. You can let us know. Then would agree on a date, then set up a Zoom link or a Teams link virtually, then demo this application to them. And if they have any questions, instead of asking you, they would ask us and explain. But all the other processes, all the sales processes would have to be done through you before maybe the client will now decide that they want the application. Yes, we can accompany you if it requires a physical presentation, but most of the demos that we've been doing currently can be done virtually. Can actually be done virtually, but if there is any case for physical, yes, we can follow you to the client site. So there are different kind of reports that can be generated. A lot of reports, user reports, password reports. This is just on AD Manager Plus. And you can also manage your Office 365, your Entra ID. You can manage that here too. You can manage it. You can manage it here. You can create Office 365 users. You can. This is it. You can create your Office 365 users. You can uh map license to them in terms of license management. You can assign or remove. You can create groups. You can do your Exchange Online management. You can also do perform calendar management. So there are a lot of things that can be done here. So in terms of governance, so this is a new feature that have been added to this application. So this application can be able to ascertain the kind of risk that your AD infrastructure is prone to. So it will give you the total security posture in your environment. So it will give you your risk score. So it makes use of all these what's it one called? All these algorithms to calculate the risk score. There's one word for it for people that understands Python. So it makes use of hold on. So it's a machine learning algorithm, confusion matrix. So it will check the false positive, the true positive, the false negative, and the true negative. So it will analyze all those things for you to generate your risk score. So it will tell you, okay, in your AD environment, that your risk score is low or your risk score is high. So if your risk score is high, that means your environment is prone to attacks. But if it is low, that means you're okay. So and it will be able to give you the reports. Like you have a lot of inactive users, you have a lot of disabled users in your environment. What is happening? You need to clean up your AD. So with this kind of reports, you'll be able to take an informed decision on what's next to be done. So that's the governance feature that is available. Then the delegation tool, you can create administrators here or users and assign different roles to them, what they can do, the kind of roles that needs to be assigned. Do you want users to have access to all these features, or do you want a particular user to just have access to the management part and some users to only the reporting part, or users to both the management and M365? So you can delegate different roles to users. So the next, the anonymous attendee, I saw your question. Let me just finish with this and I would answer your question. So the next feature on AD Manager Plus is the workflow. So the workflow defines how your tasks will be executed, the order of execution. How do you want these tasks to be executed? So this is based on the users that are managing this application. You want, as users are raising requests, like users needs to be created. Someone will raise that request. Do you want the same person to create the users on this application, and you want that same person to delete users? So if you want to define an order of execution, you use the workflow. So it's just like it has a little bit of incident management here. So whereby the user can raise a request and the request will be assigned to another user automatically, the user that can execute that request. So we have different stages. We have the requester stage, we have the reviewer, the person that will review the request. We have the approver, the person that will approve the request before it can be executed. So you can go through these 4 stages, or you can just go, depending on how you actually want to configure it. You can say from requester to executor, or from requester to approver before executor. So depending on that, and if the rule that you create matches that, if the rule that you've created, maybe the request that has been initiated matches any of the rules that have been created, it will be assigned to a particular admin, and the admin would carry out the task based on the workflow stages. So we have the automation part. This is whereby you automate all those processes. You know, I used HR as new employees as a scenario whereby there are lots of new employees and you need to onboard them to your AD. So instead of you going to logging on to your domain controller, asking for the domain controller details and everything, you can just clicking on AD users, create users and the likes. You have to be doing that manually. I don't know if if you've tried to carry out user management on your AD, it is being done manually. You need to enter all those fields one after the other, and after that, you click on create, and it'll be created, and you go on to the next user. So those steps are very tedious and it's time consuming. So instead of you to do all those things, all you just need to do, all those users you want to create, populate it in a CSV. CSV is like an Excel document. So populate it in an Excel document. There will be a template for that. Ensure that you filled in the right thing. Then put it in a particular part, a storage. Make sure that this application is in that part. And every now and then, this application will go to that file, check. Okay, you said that anytime go to these users, check if there is any user that have been added to it. If there is any, create it. So every now and then, it should be going to that part. Check if there is any new users, and those users will be added automatically without you logging on to this application to do anything. All you need to be is to be filling that CSV template. So that's for user creation. You can also use that to delete users. Instead of you going, selecting users, clicking it one after the other to delete, you can automate all those processes. So if you want to clean up your AD, you can do that. If you want to reset or unlock password, you can also do that from here. So this is it. You can perform user automation. And what kind of automation can you do? You can create users, you can disable users, you can unlock users, you can enable users. So these are the kind of automation that can be done. This for AD tags. In terms of Microsoft 365, you can enable MFA, you can disable MFA, you can remove licenses. So these are the kind of automation that can be done. So there is another automation. Maybe you want a task to be succeeding a previous task. For example, let me use maybe if a user is exiting, maybe a user is exiting your company, right? Or exiting your company. Yes, let me use that scenario. And once a user have exited the company, it will be moved to a particular OU. That is how it's being done. As you are resigning, they will carry your profile or your account to a particular OU. So that OU is for exited users. And once your name has been moved to that exited OU, what should happen next? The first thing that needs to be done is to disable that account. So you can automate all this workflow that I'm saying here. You can disable that account. And after 30 days of disabling that account, you can delete that account. So you can set up this process or all this workflow without you. Once you've set it up, it will continue running. Like it's a recurrent process. It doesn't have an end. It will keep on checking. Is there an exited user that have been moved to the exited OU? If yes, disable the account. After 30 days, the account has been disabled. Delete the user from the AD, and all these things will be carried out automatically. That's how the automation works. So now I can answer your question. Hope I'm loud enough. So what is the major difference between AD Manager Plus and AD 360? I said this earlier, but let me do that again. I opened ManageEngine AD 360 demo and I opened AD Manager Plus demo. So AD 360 houses a lot of features, or I say it has a lot of features. It has AD Manager Plus in it. It has AD Audit Plus in it. It has self-service in it. It has M365 in it. But AD Manager Plus is just like a standalone. So if depending on the needs of the client, so if the client just wants an application that does only identity governance and administration, he just wants an application that does all these AD administrative tasks like user creation, computer creation, and wants to automate all those processes. There's no need of you telling the client to go for AD360, because AD360 has other functionalities that might not interest the client. The client would go for AD Manager Plus. But if the client needs an application that does that management and automation, still needs an application that do editing, that performs self-service and the likes, all these features he has seen by the side. So the person needs to go for AD360. So AD360 is like a suite. It's not even like, it's a suite of an application that has different functionalities. So that's the major difference. AD Manager is just like a standalone. Then AD360 has different features, and those features in AD360 can act as a standalone application too. Does that answer your question, anonymous attendee? So, Femi Odeyemi, you talk of migration. Can you use this platform to migrate email collaboration platform to another like G Suite to Office 365? So, the only migration that can happen here, is when you're migrating, like server migration from maybe Exchange Server 216 to 219, something like that. So, but for this G Suite to Office 365, I would have to get back to you on that. But currently, you can do that using AD Manager Plus. So this AD Manager Plus I talked about is one of the feature in AD360. So the next that I'll be talking on is the AD Audit, which can also act as a standalone. So if I want to open the demo page for this standalone AD Audit, all I just need to do is to type in demo.adauditplus.com and it would open. So all this application can act as a standalone. So once it opens, now you see that the features that is present on the AD360 is what is present here. Can you see that? Just look at the modules on the top. It's the same thing. So AD audits, the strength of this application just lies on the reporting. It does reporting only. You can't perform any management. It does reporting. And the reporting is gotten from the event viewer of those your endpoints. And it only supports Windows endpoint. For this AD Audit Plus, it's only Windows that it supports. And every Windows system have an events viewer. You can even check it out on your system, type events viewer, and it will be launched and you'll be able to see all the logs and events that is being written on your system on those reports. But you analyzing that report is very tiring for people that can analyze it, because it has a lot of ID numbers and things that you cannot even understand or relate to. So, but with this application, once you've added the endpoint that you would like to audit, it would take all those events from your event viewer, analyze it, and present it in a more readable format. That's what it does. So you can integrate this with your Active Directory, and you'll be able to your domain controllers, and you'll be able to get all these reports. We have user logon reports, logon reports based on users, failures due to bad passwords, and you'll be able to see all the activities that have been happening. You know, I said this answers the question of who, what, and when. Who created this? Why what was created and when was it created? So this is it. Come on, let me show you the report very well. Okay. Okay, so this is it. So this report is for recently created users. So this username now, mystery, logged on to a domain controller to create this name. Logged on to this particular domain controller to create this name. And the time, you see the time here. So this is for recently created users. But if you go to your event viewer of the domain controller, you'll not be able to see this report like this. You won't see it like this. Then there's logon failures based on users. You'll be able to see that. There are also different kind of activities or reports you can get in terms of account management. You'll be able to see all user activities. A particular action modified happened. Where did it happen? What was changed? You'll be able to see what was changed. When was it changed? And who changed it? You'll be able to see who changed it. So these are the kind of questions that it answers. It also audits administrative user actions like user service accounts. It's not only user accounts that it does, like administrative privileged user accounts. It audits that too. You'll be able to see it. And even the machine that was used to perform such actions, it will be captured. So this is just for auditing purpose. So you can do for your AD, you can do for your cloud directory, that is your Entra ID, you can audit your file servers, file created, file modified, who modified this particular file, who created this file, who deleted this file. You'll be able to see it, who moved this file. If you rename the file, it's going to capture it. Which file was renamed? What was it renamed to? So you see all those kind of reports. Who accessed this particular file? Who read? Who copied and pasted? So this kind of reports will be gotten, or this kind of events will be written on the events viewer, and the events viewer will translate or this application will fetch those details from the events viewer. So it does for file audit, it does for server auditing too. Endpoint in terms of your workstations, you can get that. You can also manage all your local account management. Local account management are accounts created directly on your workstations, the local accounts. So you can get all those recently created users, the ones that have been deleted, and it will tell you the computer that that user was deleted from and who deleted it and when it was deleted. So you can back up your AD, like I said, in case of any accidental deletion. In case of any accidental deletion, you can restore that backup from here. So you can perform full backups, you can perform incremental backups. So this is it. So once you perform a full backup or any backup at all, it will show you the number of users you have, the number of computers, the number of contact group, all the objects that is available on your domain controllers is going to give you the details. And if you want to restore, you can just restore those backups from here. Or if you notice that you accidentally deleted something, no, and that thing needs to be there, you just come here and restore it, and it will be restored, and it will be applied directly to your native AD. So we have the analytics. So this analytics, this is the machine learning and AI integration that I talked about, whereby you'll be able to get all the anomalies that is happening in your AD and all the unusual activities. So you have unusual volume of logon failure is an anomalous logon. You have first time a host accessed by users, unusual volume of logon failure on a particular host, first time remote access on a host. Maybe you've not done remote access before. You've been doing on several machines, but there's this particular machine you've not done remote access before on. So once you do that, once you carry out that activity, it's going to record it as an anomalous logon. It can be a true logon, but this application, since you've not been logging on to that, so it's going to see it as an unusual activities. So all these things, maybe unusual volume of lockout, unusual user activity time, maybe you'll be working for between 8 to 5. And this application now notice that you've been working around 8 to 7. So admins can take an informed decision from that. Why is this person working from 8 to 7? What's he doing? So you can then investigate further. So these are the kind of report that is being generated using the machine learning and AI algorithms. So if there's any new process running on a particular server, is going to discover that for you. If you have unusual volume of field file accesses, maybe file deletions, people like someone was just deleting file all the time from a particular server, so it's an unusual activity, it's going to detect that for you. Then if you want to be receiving alerts, like as users are performing events, it's going to be triggering it and alert to be sent to the administrator. So what this AD Audit Plus does is just auditing. So if you are looking for a user that is requesting for an auditing tool for their AD environment, you just pitch AD Audit Plus to them. Just have to pitch AD Audit Plus to them. So the next feature of AD360 is the AD self-service. So this AD self-service is simple. What it does is that it gives users the privilege to reset accounts by themselves to unlock their password, to unlock the account, to reset password by themselves, or even change password. So, and also does multi-factor authentication and single sign-on. So this is how it is being done. Okay, it's opened here. So this is what the users can do. They can reset password, they can unlock account, they can change password, they can do self-updates. But this self-updates, you can limit it, because if users notice that they have the power to do an update, they can just be changing information that is being entered into the AD. So you can just give the users the access to just reset password, unlock account. So depending on the environment of that client, that's when you can specify the kind of policy that users can have access to. So you can also configure or implement multi-factor authentication for your endpoint. So you can, there is MFA for applications, there are MFA for endpoints. So if you want, before a user can log on to their machines, there should be another second level of authentication. You can enable that, and you'll be the one to specify what kind of authentication do you want the user to make use of. Is it Microsoft Authenticator or security questions? Or so there are lots of authenticator apps that you can configure for users to make use of. So there is MFA for your Exchange, environment, for your Outlook. There are MFA for VPN logins, for your enterprise application, so you can configure MFA for that. And also single sign-on, password sync is called single sign-on. if you want users to make use of one password for across several applications, that can be done. So you don't need to, every now and then, maybe if they want to access another application, they don't need to enter username and password. Once you've entered into one, it would replicate across other applications. And once you log out, it will log you out of all those applications. So that's how it works. So this is the purpose of this AD self-service is very simple. Give users that power or the privilege to reset password by themselves, configure single sign-on, and multi-factor authentication. Then the next feature of AD360 is the Office 365. M365 Manager Plus. So like how your native AD is, this is also for your Office 365 and for your Entra ID. So if you want to create Office 365 users, you can do that from here. In terms of Exchange Online management, your Azure Active Directory, your Teams, and SharePoint. So you can perform SharePoint management, create sites here, and create groups. You can also do Teams management. You can create teams, you can update teams, you can create Teams channel. In terms of Azure AD, you can reset passwords, you can delete users. So there are lots of things. All those activities can be done on this M365 activities can be done using this application. And you can also automate. The same way this AD Manager Plus works is the same way this M365 Manager Plus works. So, but the difference between AD Manager Plus and M365 is that M365 speaks to M365 services online. It's called to your cloud environment, but this one only speaks to your on-prem. AD Manager Plus speaks to on-prem and a little bit of cloud, but M365 is solely for your cloud environment, your Azure AD, your Exchange Online, and the likes. So that's what it does. You can also delegate the same thing. You can delegate tasks, you can create different roles for your users here. You can this for management and reporting. You can also audit and monitor what is happening in your M365 environment. You can audit and you can also monitor what is happening. The services health. Is your Exchange Online down? You'll be able to see it if it is healthy, if your Power BI is working, if your Microsoft, because sometimes you cannot have access. You guys will be complaining that my Teams is not working. I cannot the SharePoint is not coming up. So once you come to this application, you'll be able to see the health status. Is it down? If it is down, you now know what next to do, or the next step that needs to be done to bring up the application up. So you can monitor it. You can even perform content search. Maybe you want to search a mailbox of a particular user. You can just search the mailbox and the content of that mailbox will be shown to you here. That's what you can do with M365 Manager Plus. And is also a feature in AD Manager. So we have Exchange Reporter Plus. Exchange Reporter Plus will just give you reporting or only from the name Exchange Reporter Plus. So it will give you all the mailbox enabled users. This is when you use or a client have an Exchange environment. It can be on-prem, or it can be Exchange online. It can be an on-prem environment, it can be, but what it just does is that it will give you reporting. There is no management here. So recovery, like I said, it can also act as a standalone. It can back up your native AD objects, your Entra ID objects, all the objects in your Entra ID to be backed up, and you can restore them anytime you feel like, or maybe there's any accidental deletion. So you can back up your AD, your Entra ID, your Exchange environment, your SharePoint, your Google Workspace, your Zoho Work Drive. So these are the um the endpoint that this application can back. And anytime you feel like retrieving them, you can retrieve and you can restore them. You can restore you can see that here. You can restore all these informations. So these are the features that you have in AD360, and all these features can also act as a standalone. So we have SharePoint too. So if they are looking at also managing their SharePoint, you can create farms here. You can create it's still loading. So you can create SharePoint groups, SharePoint sites. You can grant permissions to a user. You can revoke that permissions. You can copy. You can move. So all the SharePoint management activities can be done using this. So these are the actions that are being, or the modules that is present in ManageEngine AD360, and all these can also act as a standalone. You can see where I access them differently. So it can also act as a standalone. So in summary, these two applications that I just mentioned of, the PAM 360 and AD360, are the ManageEngine IAM tools that it helps organization to manage their user identities, to enforce security policies, to streamline access provisioning, and also to ensure compliance. Do you have any questions with regards to this? With AD self-service, won't it compromise the AD whereby one can change password even when he knows he is leaving the organizations? Yes, even if you change your password, even when you know you are leaving the organization, when you leave, the admin can be able to reset it. And once you leave an organization, your account will be deleted. Or even if they want to leave your account, they can reset that password. So it won't compromise the AD. It won't compromise it. Is in AD360, AD Manager Plus platforms available to, okay, is AD Manager Plus platform available to partners for demos, or the partner is available? Can you see the way I just accessed it? It's available. Any person can just come to their website to access all these demo pages that I've been accessing. All you just need to do is just to enter these prompts in your URL, and it will be displayed for you. You don't need to purchase any application. The only time you need to purchase any application is when you want to go live. When you want to go live, that's when you can purchase the application. So we have a PAM solution, we have an AD solution. So, but PAM solution, AD solution, they're all categorized under ManageEngine IAM solutions. So we've talked about PAM. PAM is strictly for privileged account management, privileged session management, SSH management, SSL management. That's what PAM solution does. AD360 speaks to identity governance and administrations, whereby you can create users, audit your AD environment, give users that power to reset password by themselves, manage your M365 environment. But all these are under ManageEngine IAM solutions. Femi, do you understand that? Femi Odeyemi? So in absence of any question, I would go ahead and share the requirements document, the questionnaire for AD360.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing? Good morning.
Hi, David. I can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the lectures. Thanks for the training. I really appreciate that. Was nice. That was great insight. Yeah, but my question is this. You talked about how does this synchronize with Endpoint Central? How does this synchronize with Endpoint Center? And how does this also synchronize with IAM? So can you throw a little light on how the synchronize? Take for instance now, if a client is already using IAM and we introduce this to them, so what are the difference between them and what are the similarity? And what difference will this ones makes if they decide to go on this? So I need clarification on that. And the same thing goes to Endpoint Central. What features can they do together and what feature can they do differently? Thank you.
Okay, so for that your client, we need to know the IAM tool that they are using. Because this AD360 and PAM360, they are all IAM tools, identity and access management.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, you said we need to know the IME they are using. I give a
Yes,
very good.
you said
Yeah, go ahead.
IAM, yes. So these two applications that I just demoed on, they are all IAM tools, but they are
Exactly.
being categorized. So there's one that speaks to PAM, privileged
Okay.
account management. There's one
Mm-hmm.
that speaks to your AD management, whether native
Okay.
AD or your Azure, your M365 environment.
Okay.
So you said if the client is already making use of IAM. So I would like to know the IAM that your client is using. But if they are not using any IAM at all, this tool will be in great need for them, in great use for them, because there are lots of automations that needs to be done. There are lots
Okay.
of tasks that once you have this application, you don't need to go through all those stress. So most things that clients from experts from experience, they don't really have a tool that does that. If they want to create users, they'll just log on to their domain controller. You'll see Active Directory users and groups. They'll just go there, be creating users one by one. That's what
Yes.
most
Yes,
organizations
that's the
do.
conventional way. That's the
Yeah, that's the
conventional way.
conventional way.
Exactly,
Yes,
that's the
so
conventional way.
if you don't want, like, this application can ease that stress from you because you're creating users one after the other, and it is
Now,
not even right,
okay,
or it
a
is
quick
not
one. Based on
professional.
what you are saying, when you are integrating this one with the Active Directory, are we going to agent on each of the user, or with this directory pull the information wherever it is?
Yeah, so once you integrate your domain, it will pull the information. The agent installation is in Endpoint Central.
That is
That
that.
one is separate.
That's what
That
I'm
one is
going to.
separate. That one is a separate application. That one.
That is what I'm saying. That's where my question goes. That let's assume they're already using Endpoint Central. We want to add this ones to what they're already using. What would this one be doing? What would this particular one will be doing as an addition to what is already being used? That's one of my questions. And what will it be doing differently that will not also affect the existing endpoint central they're already using?
Okay, so the two applications are different.
Exactly one.
Endpoint
Yes.
Central speaks to Endpoint. So we are going to have another session tomorrow on endpoint management.
Okay.
Endpoint Central speaks to endpoint. You want to manage your endpoint. I want to check what
Yes.
this is. I want to
Yes.
update my systems. I want to push
Yes.
software. That's
Yes.
what Endpoint Central is all about.
Yes.
But this PAM 360 and EDI 360 speaks to IAM, Identity and Access Management. You are
Oh, I
talking
see.
about governance here. You are
Mm-hmm.
talking about user administration here. You are
Mm-hmm.
talking about privileged account and session management. You want to manage user accounts. Here, you are not managing endpoints. You are managing user accounts. You are managing the passwords, the resources available, the local account. You're auditing your domain controllers. So both are different. Endpoint speaks to your machines, your
Your
Windows,
hardware.
your Windows, your Linux, your mobile
Mm-hmm.
devices, your phones.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh That's what endpoint speaks to. But IAM speaks to logical things. Something you're not seeing, the
But it's
edges,
existing. Yeah, I
or
know.
is existing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference.
Okay, fine. Okay. Thank you. That's my question. Thanks.
So do we have any other question, please? So this is the questionnaire for AD 360. Henry, are you there? I don't know if Henry is there to take that.
Share. So AD 360, as we all know, is a bundle solution, right? And encompasses the AD manager, AD audit, and AD self-service. So if it depends on the request, that will determine if you're going to go for AD 360 or you're going to pick each of the solution. Like Anwika likely mentioned earlier, said AD manager, AD 360, and AD manager, AD audit, AD self-service can be a standalone solution. Depends on what the request is, right? So we just have to understand what the client wants before we propose a AD 360. So let me just start by let me just start with the AD manager aspect of the AD 360. So the questions you are most likely going to ask the client, one, do you have AD Manager Plus as do you require AD Manager Plus as a AD 360 package? So this question usually is when the client is, for example, wants to purchase AD Manager and is looking at purchasing other suits, like other combined solutions such as the AD audit and AD self-service. So probably the customer want to start with AD manager. So that will give the customer access to the console, though the console might not be active, but once the customer want to proceed in maybe the next year to purchase other AD tools, right? You can just like a plug and play, you just activate the console from the customer's premises. So now AD manager is simple. Let me just run to what the most part of this. One, AD manager could be in a standard edition or a professional edition. It depends on which you want to purchase. So if you share this with the client, then the client can decide if they want to get the standard edition or the professional edition. And another question you can ask again is how many of the AD domains to be managed? I mentioned earlier that AD manager is licensed based on the number of domains. So the customer needs to indicate the number of domains that they want to manage, and also the helpdesk. Helpdesk here simply means the technicians. So the number of domains, the number of helpdesks that is going to sit on the solution, that needs to be indicated. And move up a little bit, Anika. So another question here is do you have an AD user, but do you require an AD user backup or recovery? So you can also specify if you want the AD to be backup. You want to back up the AD or you want a recovery add-on. Once the customer indicates that, it comes at a cost. So that will be added to the cost. So the next is the AD Audit Plus. AD Audit Plus is also a tool in the AD 360. It can also be a standalone. Amaka, can you move up a little bit? So just as the same as the AD manager, you will be asked if you want it to be in the, if you want it as AD Audit Plus as a pack or as a part of AD 360. If it says yes, then they are going to, with the license will come in as AD 360. Then you have your AD audit in it. So, so the question to be asked is same as the AD manager. You have the standard and professional edition. The client needs to indicate the edition that he or she wants to purchase, the number of domains that they want to audit, right? As they are rightly know that AD audit is an auditing tool, right? So the number of domains that you want to audit, that should be indicated. How many the number of 5 server to be audited should be indicated. The number of Azure AD tenants should be indicated too, right? So you also can ask, they can ask the number of syslog, right? NAS server, NetApp, or AMC5 server that needs to be managed. That should be indicated too. Though it's not necessary that the client fill all these questions. It depends if whatever question that speaks to the client request, then if the client do not really want it, you can indicate no. How many numbers of Windows servers are to be audited? That should be included. Number of workstations to be audited. That should be included too. We have the AD self-service plus. Question to be asked is one, like we mentioned, we have the standard edition, we have the professional edition. The client needs to determine which edition they intend to go for. That should be indicated through there. America. Okay, can you move up a little bit? Same, we ask the number of domain. To go down a little bit. The number of domain users, right? The number of domain users to have access to the AD service console. Do you require an MFA, right? Do you require an endpoint MFA add-on? The client needs to indicate if they want a multi-factor authentication. If you need that, you can indicate. You require a failover or secure gate service. If yes, it comes at a cost. So just that goes for other solution, right? So this actually makes it easier for you to be able to scope for your client. So should you have any client that wants to manage their AD, or they want to audit their AD, AD Manager, AD 360 is the solution we recommend to the client. And if you don't know how to scope it, just request for the questionnaire. We'll be happy to share with you. We can also join you with the client to be able to assist you in scoping to the client. That's just it. We have the Estate Reporter Plus here. We have SharePoint here. We have Office 365 Manager Plus. Those questions too are the same. There are other questions that speaks to this that will be asked to for you to be able to get the code for the client. So we'll be happy to share this document with you wherever you are. You need any of such requests from the client. So, Anrika, do you have any other things to say?
Nothing from my own end. I'll say it all. If depending on what clients request for, that's when you can advise.
I think your mic needs to come. You need to come closer to your mic.
Okay. Depends on what clients request for. That's when you can advise on the edition or the solution that the client should go for. So I use the AD Manager and AD 360 as an example. So if they need a solution that just speaks to a particular stuff, they don't need a solution that does this and that and this and that. So you can just from there you can just prefer this AD Manager Plus or any of those features that we talked about to the client. But if they need application that does a lot of things with respect to the IAM, you can prefer PAM 360 and AD 360 to them. So, and it is based on this information that they are going to fill on this document that would help you to know the right thing or the right information that you would give your client. So that's it.
All right, so
Henry, Chimeze is asking if this questionnaire is available.
Kamaka, can you increase your voice a little bit?
Yeah, so Chimeze is asking if this questionnaire is available for them.
Yes, it is. I just mentioned that earlier. So if you want any of this questionnaire, I have the questionnaire for all the solution. I can easily share with you anytime. Right? And if you need us to assist you in scoping with the client, we can also do that. We have this available. We are going to send this. We are going to attach it to the link that will be shared at the end of the webinar. We're going to share with the questionnaire with you. But you can also reach out to me directly if you want to get these questionnaires. So, Anuka, do we have any other question in the chat?
No other questions that I can see. So I think we've answered all of them.
All right. So I think we've done justice to the ManageEngine IAM solution, which speaks to the PAM 360 and then AD 360. What we just need from the partner is for us to start getting requests on this. So we'll be happy to have engage you and your client on this solution. You can request for a personal demo on this solution. We'll be happy to demonstrate it again for you. Just to let you know, the link, the recording of this session will be shared at the end of the webinar. Should you have any questions, you have any requests, reach out to the to me via channel@tranter.com. You can also place a call. We'll be happy to treat any of your requests. At this point, I want to say thank you to every one of us that joined this session. In fact, it has been a very insightful session. I think I got to understand few things as new things as regards the IAM solution today, and I believe that every one of us here too can attest to the fact that their new revelations that we got on this solution today. So with that, we're going to draw the curtain for today. Just to let you know, the webinar continues tomorrow. We are going to focus on the endpoint, how to manage your endpoint. That's for the endpoint management and security solution. So we're going to deep dive on the management part of the solution and also the security part of the solution. So with that, we're going to call this a day. Thank you, every one of us that have joined for today's webinar session. We really appreciate your time. Anrika, do you have a final comment before we call it a day?
I don't have any final comment, but I believe whatever we did today made a great impact, or you understand what was taught today. So I'll be expecting you tomorrow for the endpoint management session.
Thank you very much for that. If you want to know what solutions to use to manage your endpoint, and you want to gain visibility on what is happening on your endpoint, you want to ensure that your endpoint are up to date in terms of patches, in terms of OS. You want to remote into an endpoint at ease. You want to ensure that your endpoint are secure and there are no intruders. Then just have to join the tomorrow's session, because that is going to speak to a lot of we're going to speak to a lot of management and security of your endpoint. At this point, we want to say thank you to all the partners that have joined. We'll be happy to have you in the tomorrow's session. Thank you. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye for now.